I've never been one to walk home late at night, but that Thursday I had no choice. My shift at the diner had run later than usual, and the bus schedules were terrible. It was just past 1 a.m. and the streets were nearly empty. Streetlights flickered lazily as I made my way down the narrow alley that cut through the block. A shortcut I'd taken countless times before. At first, everything felt normal. The cold winter air stung my cheeks, and the faint hum of a distant train was the only sound accompanying me. My boots echoed against the wet pavement, the noise my only company. Then I noticed the shadow. It was long, impossibly long, stretching across the brick wall to my right. I froze, convinced it was a trick of the flickering streetlight, but the shadow didn't belong to me. I turned quickly, scanning the alley. Empty. Nothing. Just the faint shimmer of steam rising from a nearby drain. I laughed nervously, shaking my head. "Get a grip," I whispered to myself. But as I started walking again, I realized the shadow moved with me. Not directly, not in front, but subtly, like it was stalking from behind the next corner. I sped up. Footsteps echoed behind me. At first I thought they were mine, bouncing off the walls. But then I heard something else. Slow. Deliberate. Matching my pace. I glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. Then a whisper, soft, almost carried by the wind. "Don't look back." I froze mid-step. My heart thudded so hard I could barely hear anything else. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice cracking. Silence. Then, just as I was about to keep running, I felt it. A presence. Cold. Watching. The hair on my neck stood up, and I knew I wasn't alone. I bolted. The rest of the alley felt like it stretched forever. Every shadow I passed seemed to twist and writhe just beyond my sight. My phone was in my pocket, but I was too terrified to pull it out. I could hear the footsteps again, quickening, but they weren't mine. Finally, I reached the main street. Neon lights from a closed convenience store bathed the pavement in pink and orange. I spun around. Nothing. No shadow, no figure. Just the alley, quiet, empty, normal. I didn't sleep that night. The next few days, I avoided that alley. I told friends about what happened, but everyone shrugged it off. "Probably just your imagination," they said. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was exhausted. But when I returned home from work one evening, I saw it again. A figure in the alley. Tall, dark, unmoving, its face obscured by shadow. I wanted to call out, to run, but my feet felt like they were glued to the ground. It tilted its head, watching. And then, just as I blinked, it was gone. I moved apartments 2 weeks later. But even now, I can't walk past alleys at night without feeling eyes on me. And sometimes, in my dreams, the shadow follows me. I live alone in a small townhouse on the outskirts of the city. It's quiet, secluded, and honestly perfect for someone like me who enjoys solitude. I've always liked being alone. Peace, calm, control over my own space. That all changed the night he appeared. It started on a Friday. I'd been working late at a local coffee shop and got home just past 11 p.m. The street was empty, the streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement. I unlocked my door, stepped inside, and noticed something odd immediately. The front doormat was flipped over. That didn't make sense. I always kept it weighted down. I checked inside quickly. Nothing seemed moved. I shrugged it off. Maybe the wind. Later that night, around 1:30 a.m., I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I heard a faint knock. Not at the door, the window. I froze. The sound came again. 3 soft taps, deliberate. I lived on the 2nd floor. No one should have been outside my bedroom window. I grabbed my phone and slowly lifted the curtains. He was there. A man. Tall, thin, wearing a black hoodie that swallowed him in shadows. His face was pale, almost ghostly under the dim streetlight. He didn't move. Just stood there staring. I blinked. He was gone. I called the police. They said there was nothing they could do. No forced entry, no evidence. Probably just someone walking by, they suggested. But I knew better. I could feel it in my gut. He wasn't walking by. He was watching. The next nights were worse. Every evening around 1 a.m. he appeared. Always in the same spot, always silent, always staring. Sometimes he wore a mask. Sometimes he didn't. He'd never come closer than 10 feet, but it was enough to terrify me. I installed cameras, motion sensors, bright floodlights. Nothing stopped him. One night I fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from hours of anxiety. Around 2:44 a.m., I woke to the sound of shuffling outside. My heart raced. I peeked through the blinds. He was there, holding something. A crowbar, slowly moving it along the side of my house. My mind raced. On burglary attack. I called the police immediately. By the time they arrived, he was gone. The crowbar had been left leaning against the fence. No prints, nothing. I started seeing him inside the house too. Not physically, at least I hope not. Shadows shifting in the corner of my eyes. Reflections in mirrors that didn't belong. At first, I thought I was losing it. Stress, paranoia, exhaustion, but it kept escalating. One morning, I found a note slipped under the door. I see you when you sleep. I see you when you wake. No signature. No indication of who it was, just him. I tried staying elsewhere, but even hotels weren't safe. I'd see him through the window across the parking lot, standing still, watching. Sometimes he'd appear in the reflection of the TV. Sometimes in the grocery store, standing silently among the aisles, pretending to browse, but always aware of me. I realized something horrifying. He didn't need to be physically close. Just the knowledge that he was watching anywhere, anytime was enough. Weeks passed. I stopped sleeping properly. Every creak, every gust of wind, every shadow sent me into a panic. Friends stopped coming over. I couldn't let anyone see him. Couldn't let anyone see what I had become. I tried confronting him once, stepping outside at night with a flashlight, yelling, "Who are you? What do you want?" Silence. Then he tilted his head. That same pale, ghostly face. The corners of his mouth curved into something resembling a smile. Slowly, deliberately, he raised a hand and pointed at me, then vanished. I moved again, twice. New cities, new apartments, but it doesn't matter. I see him in the reflection of a car window, in the shadows of a parking garage, in the periphery when I walk down a quiet street. Always watching. Always there. Sometimes I wonder if he's real at all, if he's a manifestation of my fear. But the notes, the taps, the crowbar, those were real. They had to be. And tonight I woke to 3 soft taps on my window. I didn't look. I can't. I just sit here, heart hammering, listening, knowing he's outside, waiting, watching. I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Sure, I loved a good horror story or two, but I always chalked everything up to imagination, coincidences, or bad timing. That all changed last fall, when I moved into the old Victorian house on the edge of town. It was perfect, at least on the surface. Hardwood floors, bay windows that let in morning light, and an attic that smelled faintly of cedar. I was thrilled. A house like this on my own with the chance to start fresh. I didn't care about the creaks and groans that came with old wood. The first few nights were fine. I unpacked boxes, set up furniture, and listened to the wind whistle through the cracks in the windows. It gave the place character, I told myself. Then came the first night I heard it. I was in the living room reading when a faint noise reached my ears. At first I thought it was the house settling. But it kept coming, soft, deliberate, like someone whispering. I paused, straining to hear. "Help me," I froze. My heart leapt. Surely it was my imagination. I laughed nervously and continued reading. But the whispering didn't stop. It seemed to be coming from upstairs. The attic. I had never even been up there yet. I grabbed a flashlight and cautiously climbed the narrow stairs. The door to the attic was closed, and a thin layer of dust covered the doorknob. I hesitated, then slowly turned it. The attic was empty. Just boxes, old furniture, and stacks of magazines. Nothing moved. Nothing. Except the whisper. "Don't leave." It was faint, almost a hiss. I spun around, shining my light in every corner. Nothing. No air vent, no draft, no hidden speaker. Just the boxes and the shadows. I slammed the door shut and locked it. I didn't sleep much that night. The next few days were worse. Every night the whispers returned, sometimes calling my name, sometimes pleading, and then the knocking. 3 slow taps on the attic door, always around 2:13 a.m. Every night, I tried to ignore it, rationalize it. Old houses make noises. Branches tap windows. But I couldn't. Not when I felt the air shift as if someone were standing just behind me, watching, waiting. One night I couldn't take it anymore. I climbed the stairs again, heart hammering, flashlight shaking in my hands. The whispers started as soon as I reached the landing. Louder this time, urgent, almost angry. "Why did you come back?" I kicked the door open. The attic was different. The dust swirled unnaturally as if caught in some invisible wind. Shadows moved on their own. And in the far corner I saw it, a figure, tall, indistinct, blackness that seemed to absorb the light of my flashlight. It didn't move, but I knew it was aware of me. I felt it studying me, judging me. I screamed, stumbling back down the stairs, my flashlight hitting walls and furniture in my panic. I didn't sleep at all that night. Weeks passed. I tried everything. Salt lines, incense, even sprinkling flour across the attic threshold to see if anything crossed it. Every morning the flour was undisturbed. The attic door always slammed shut by itself during the night, and then I started seeing it in the mirror. At first I thought it was my reflection playing tricks, but one night I was brushing my teeth when I caught a shadow moving behind me in the hallway. I turned, nothing. I glanced back in the mirror. The figure stood at the top of the stairs just outside the attic door, silent, black, featureless, watching, and I realized it wasn't in the house to scare me away. It was here to make sure I never left. The final incident came one night in early November. I was alone trying to read in the living room. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. The whispers started as usual, faint, almost conversational. I tried to ignore them. Then the attic door opened slowly, creaking. I froze, staring at the narrow gap. Out of instinct, I called for whoever it was. "Who's there?" No answer. Then I saw it step through. Not walking, not moving normally. Sliding, gliding across the floor like it was weightless. The figure's shape was shifting, constantly changing. Human-like, then elongated, then formless. "Stay!" It hissed. I ran. Through the kitchen, living room, out the front door. I didn't stop until I reached the street light down the block. My chest heaving, my hand shaking. When I returned with police later, the attic was empty. No sign of forced entry, nothing moved, no footprints. The only thing out of place, a faint smear of soot along the attic door frame in the shape of a hand. I never went back inside that house. I left everything behind, furniture, boxes, even my clothes. The landlord tried to contact me about the lease, but I didn't answer. Sometimes late at night, I dream of the attic. The whispers call my name and I wake up to the faint smell of cedar. Even in my new apartment hundreds of miles away, I know I'll never escape it.